I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body.
Speaking on people disagreeing with gendered things, Dave Chappelle was attacked a couple weeks ago.
That dude got fucked up. They should have fucked him up worse.
Yeah. So I agree. So first of all, we didn't get around to talking about it, but it definitely happened. So he was in the middle of a Netflix as a joke comedy special thing, and like they had a fuck ton of people out there, and it was in California, in LA, and he got attacked directly on stage. Dude jumped on the stage. Somehow there wasn't security in front of the stage, or he managed to get around him, and pulled what appeared to be a gun, but it actually was really a knife. A knife disguised as a gun somehow.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So he literally brought a knife to a gunfight.
Yes, thank you for repeating that from Nerd Rage. Because they talked about that. Joe basically used that exact same line. Either way. So
that was my spirit animal.
Yeah, so he tried to tackle Dave, and kind of did, but mostly got fucked up in the ordeal. Like he nearly got, I think Dave tripped, and then they both went to the ground, but dude like ended up falling over before the security managed to get to him. And like they dragged him in the back, and you know what you would think would happen definitely happened. And there's lots of footage of it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that dude's elbow was on the front side of his arm when he got hauled away.
Yes, it was absolutely ridiculous. Now, this guy has since also seemingly got into more trouble, which, by the way, the LA County police didn't file charges for attacking Dave Chappelle, which is a bit fucked up. Especially, it was in public and recorded by lots and lots of people, even though nobody was supposed to have their phones out.
They got him for like some kind of weapons ordinance violation or something.
Something like that, but they didn't get him on the assault. However, he is currently also suspected in the murder of his roommate. So, weird violent tendencies also involved there. But he was...
Oh, and also he's a single dad with a son at 5 years old.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that part I actually didn't know. I didn't get to that part of the story. But I was reading up on the fact that he was interviewed very recently by seemingly a lot of people. And he was speaking out as to why he attacked Dave Chappelle in the first place. And he claimed that as a non-binary individual, he was triggered by Dave's comedy and his comments. And that was enough. And he was going to go silence him.
Well, that's odd because the New York Post published on May the 22nd that he said, I identify as bisexual, and wanted him to know what he said was triggering.
Did I say it wrong? Sorry. I said, I'm sorry, bisexual. My bad.
I wanted him to know that next time he should consider first running his material by people it could affect.
Yes.
Well, dude, you missed the entire point of comedy. It's not there to, to shield you from your feelings. Comedy has always, besides jokes, right? Comedy has also been offensive to some demographic.
Very edgy.
Generally speaking,
very edgy.
Almost
That's
entirely made to
the
offend.
point of comedy, right? Like Ricky Gervais now is also under attack on Netflix because trans people are going of a particular joke where he says, "Oh, women," he said, not all women. I mean, the old-fashioned ones, the ones with wombs, those fucking dinosaurs. I love the new women. They're great, aren't they? And the new ones, we've been seeing them, we've been seeing them lately. The ones with beards and cocks, right? It's a joke.
Sorry.
Dude,
I had to laugh
get over yourself. Like this, and John Cleese, I believe he said something, along the lines of it last year as well, or the year before. And so has Rowan Atkinson, this constant attack where you cannot offend anyone, like, is killing comedy.
In any way, by the way.
Yeah. Look back in the day, right? Delirious? Need I say more?
I will say,
at least say you're referring to the Eddie Murphy stand up for the few people in the world who aren't cool enough to have actually seen it.
Okay.
So, hey, I see you, Eddie.
George Carlin, come on.
Yes.
You know, like
there is one other mild.
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor was
Cosby back in the day.
And let's not forget the movie Blazing Wagons.
Saddles.
Blazing Saddles.
Saddles. Yes.
You know,
that's
okay.
Do not.
You see it.
Yes.
Get a good laugh.
Blazing Wagons was the knockoff porn version of it.
And they're definitely blazing something different. I will say that hold on, so the other thing is he was triggered by the jokes about homelessness and pedophilia because he's currently, or at least at the time of this, was homeless and has been a victim of molestation.
Oh wow.
Now, mind you, so have I. You know,
if he was homeless, how could he afford a ticket to go see this show?
People have brought that up, and realistically, I mean, it is
come on.
In theory, well, no, because of this specific
But it's also
show,
been brought up that he also has been mentally unstable, has a history of mental illness.
Even though he claims
that's the reason why he is homeless, is because his family wouldn't take him in because of his past issues with his mental illness.
Yes, exactly. But then he turns around and says that he doesn't have any mental illness, even though
crazy people don't tell you that they're crazy.
I know. But that's what I was getting at. Is like, despite everyone else in his life literally saying, no, this dude's got issues. That's why he's this way.
Like his family has spoken out. That's why he's homeless. Yeah. We will not take him in because he does fucked up stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And
which is not the way to handle it. They should have got him help, and maybe this wouldn't have happened.
I would agree with you, except that in certain places, it's
just
not.
So you know,
accept
is a fancy word for but. So you still.
Well, no. I agree with you in the yes, that should be what happens. But what I was going to say is just that not everywhere it's that easy, especially out in the West Coast, which is why there are so many ridiculously homeless people with massive mental problems, is that you can't just there's no committing anyone anymore, and the state itself also can't do anything. Police can't do anything. Doctors can't do anything. The people themselves have to bring themselves into a program or something like that, and that is where
a direct family member can have them Baker acted.
In some places, I would definitely agree with you, but that seems to not be the case out in the West Coast.
California.
In California, believe me, there'd be a lot more people who had help if that were the case. I agree with you.
Except for all of California thinks they're not crazy.
Exactly, that would be the problem. But that's also why they have the largest homeless encampment, I believe, in the entire country, like 200,000 strong.
Pretty much.
And literally between LA and San Francisco, they have the largest homeless. There's almost more homeless people than regular people.
Yeah.
Well, you can't say regular because that implies they're irregular.
They are irregular in the case that they're mentally ill. So, but between homeless and not homeless,
that all homeless people are mentally ill, which is not.
I'm not saying all, but many. Like if you follow Dr. Drew at all, he has been fighting this for a very long time. Like even trying to run for, I think at one point he was really considering running for governor because he wanted to change the laws to actually help the truly mentally ill people who are basically just doing drugs and dying on the streets. Now, don't get me wrong, I do feel for this guy that he clearly has issues and stuff like that. Like there's still empathy there. But you did still commit a crime in public in front of a fuck ton of people.
Oh yeah, so you pay for your crime.
Yeah, pay for the crime. Absolutely. At least. I mean, he did get his ass completely whipped, but the problem is that
ain't the same thing.
No, but what I'm saying is that they will want to turn it to he's been a victim of Dave and his friends. He was already offended by what Dave said, and then they turned around and they beat him mercilessly for violently attacking someone.
Well, not mercilessly because the guy lived.
Yeah, I guess that's true. There was some mercy, and Jamie Foxx got in on it too. I thought that was funny. If you watch the videos are actually pretty great. I don't mean just of him getting beat, but like people just talking about it. I find it amusing. And I don't want to see comedians hurt, and I also don't want to see people get hurt because they're trying to hurt comedians. Because they're just words. Words are literally not violence. Words can be...
I grew up with the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And this newer generation, it's like the opposite. It's like every single
the
thing
internet
you say
generation.
hurts me.
It's the internet generation, the Twitter generation, the TikTok generation, the even Facebook generation, for instance. If you look, what happened to you? You used the word kidnapped and you got locked out of whatever. And you weren't even threatening anybody. You weren't even doing anything. You were using it as a joke.
Talk about picking somebody up and giving them a free ride.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So an incredibly mild comment taken way beyond seriousness. And that has all been part of this weird social distortion that has happened in the last less than a decade, realistically, but it kind of started roughly 10 years ago. But the major craziness has been in the last few. And it's never okay to attack someone because they've offended you. Like,
precisely.
If words they said go against your belief, it is still not okay to attack them. Now, if they take action against you first, then maybe. If it's an actual defense thing, okay, maybe there's justification there. But if it's just words that you don't agree with or they quote unquote trigger you, it's still not okay.
No, it isn't.
Because it
get a backbone and freaking grow up.
Yeah. At least
because there are tons of people out there that are not going to be exactly pleasant to you. And if every time you're going to react and flip out and attack someone just because they use a particular word, depending on which way the wind blows, one of these days, that particular person is going to get their ass stomped so severely that they're going to get killed.
And realistically, that could be from both sides. That could be the person who was offended could end up that way, or they may do something so ridiculously out of control, just depending on the situation, or they call to action that other people go do things. And Dave has been controversial in the fact that he has been talking about the LGBTQ and extra letters community for a while. And yes, and I'm going to say this, and I've read a thing about this the other day, and please understand what I mean when I say it. I don't believe that there should be any protected classes. I think that it doesn't matter what you identify as. It doesn't matter your skin color. It doesn't matter your income level. You're still equal across the board. Now, you don't have equal outcome. Your life is not the same as someone else's, but you are literally a human being who is the same as anyone else. And afforded the same rights. And I don't think that anybody should be granted a special class or protected class due to a specific identifier, because I think all that does is separate people further.
Correct.
And
it's a constant segregation of everything, of everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. What are they going to do? Are they going to like segregate gingers from like blonde people or brunettes or whatever? And then all of a sudden the ginger people are just, evil or something like that?
They're not evil. They just don't have souls.
Redheads are hot.
Okay, yes, but they don't have souls.
Anyway, yeah, they are.
But the point is,
you hear that, Kara? I'm talking about how hot you are on my podcast.
No, but the point is that this constant segregation of people all the time, because now we have all these stupid, ridiculous labels. Now we have to kowtow to the thought police because heaven forbid we say a word or two, right?
Yes.
Again, it's no different than, and I'm going to go back to it, what happened during World War II with the Nazis and the Jews. Because now you're going to start singling out people based on what they say. Oh, no. We're the thought police. You can't say that. You're going to get in the gulag. Or in this case, like, for example, what happened to Ricky, we're going to throw you in the digital gulag for a few days, and you have better learned your lesson because you can't use that word. You must conform.
Well, even beyond that, even beyond the ramifications thereof, it also comes down to, why do we need the super divided nature? Like, why does and everything has to be broken down into its smallest intersectionality? Like,
We don't need it.
Like why? It's like, why do I have to? And this is just as an example here. Why does someone have to be treated differently because they're the first gay, half black, half white, woman to come from Montana who adopted a Hispanic baby who also was raised by Mormons. Like, oh yeah, I should have thrown religion. I forgot. I missed religion.
I had you covered, man.
Yeah, thank you for boosting my intersectionality, Ricky. I appreciate that. And like, there was a joke made a long time ago about and I forget which show did it. They made a joke.
Probably South Park.
It might have been South Park, but it could have also been The Simpsons. Before that, because The Simpsons did it. Yep. The first gay black lesbian. Well, I guess lesbian is covered under that. So first lesbian black woman president with a Hispanic child or something like that. Oh, single. That's right. It was single. It was the first single mother black lesbian president would be the first way to go. And like,
that definitely sounds like a South Park thing.
Well, yeah. Like I said, I don't remember South Park if it was somebody else, but somebody definitely made that reference. It might have been Dave Chappelle. Either way, but it's like, the weird thing is like, that is entirely a thing that can happen now. But the problem is that you treat them completely different because of how many things they can intersect into their own specialness. It's just like, remember when you were just a human being 5 minutes ago, and whatever you did in life is actually the things that mattered, not the however many labels we can add to you, like you're the mother of dragons, breaker of chains, Daenerys Stormborn.
You're blaming Game of Thrones for our
I'm not blaming.
issues.
I'm saying, listen, that's her intersection, or Daenerys's intersectionality is however many titles she managed to throw on in front of her, and we treat people the same way. Like, okay, you are now at the top of the victimhood pile because of your level of intersectionality, and I don't think we should treat people that way, because I believe in meritocracy. I believe in your actions, and the way you live life and the way you treat other people matters more than the color of your skin, religion, sexual orientation, or chromosomes. Like,
the character of your being.
Yeah, judging you as your character. Yeah.
Than what's physically, visually on the outside.
Yeah. Someone had a dream about
some
this
of the
once.
whole is more important than the parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like some of the holes.
What it is? You know what the problem is? It's because of losers. Let's put it this way.
No.
Right? And I'm not saying this to be mean, but just follow me here for a second.
Well, you're already starting it out with a negative word. So.
No. It's only negative if you give it that kind of connotation.
I'm a loser, so therefore I'm triggered.
Name one time loser in the history of the word has ever been a positive.
This is where I'm trying to get at.
The Biggest Loser show.
Okay. There are two ways. Well, yeah, exactly. The Biggest Loser.
I got you there.
All right.
Come on.
Now, there's two ways you can go with this, okay? Because of losers, all right? There are two types of losers, all right? And I was kind of one of them. The kind of loser that gets stuck in their constant rut all the time and decides to play victim, or the type of loser that actually did something with their lives and did something to change it for the positive, right?
That doesn't. How are they a loser?
No.
He's talking about how the losers deal with being a loser.
This is what I'm getting at, okay? The loser that decides to stay in that victim mentality constantly will always find the bully that's picking on them all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
It's always it's the next person's fault for what's wrong with you.
Okay,
that's right.
So let me rebut before you go to the next part.
Hold on.
Before you go to the next part, let me rebut to that one. But before I rebut it, let me make sure that we're all on the same page and you're not going to be butthurt by what I say, right?
Just say it. It's fine.
Like we're friends enough to be just honest with each other.
Yeah.
So going by what you just said, somebody who sits there and wallows in their self-pity looking for the next attack, wouldn't you fall under that by talking about all you think Disney's changing everybody to girls and everybody's trying to force their transgenderness on you and everybody's trying, Wouldn't that put you squarely in that same category?
I think there are 3 losers.
Yeah, there could be 3 losers.
That might be.
See,
we have another intersection.
I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm asking
is,
seriously.
To have a constant victimhood mentality, okay, all the time, you will find enemies no matter where they are, right? And it creates this constant division, this constant classification of bullies everywhere. Now, the other type of loser, right, is actually somebody that has had enough, that decides to, you know what, forget this. I'm not going to wallow in self-pity. I'm going to actually do something with my life. And instead of becoming the loser, they work their way out of it and start to become a winner, right? Now, I'm just generalizing here for the sake of conversation. If somebody is going to constantly make themselves look like the victim, no matter what you do or what you say, it doesn't matter how you try to rationalize it, they're gonna always stay in a mental state of victimhood.
Yeah.
And I've seen people like that, right?
Yeah.
No matter.
But what I'm saying is, with that broad brush that you're stroking with, you fall into that, because you're saying that as a man, Hollywood is attacking you by changing everybody to a woman or having a woman save the day. Or as a straight man, you're being attacked and victimized by transgender people who are trying to force you to call them a certain thing. You see what I'm saying? That's what the problem is with making broad sweeping strokes, is the people making those strokes forget that applies to them too. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, from an outside perspective looking in, you fall into that category. But I don't think you do. I'm just saying, with what you just said, you do.
I think in that case,
does that make sense?
Well, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, this is why I've got not an argument for, but
that's what I'm saying. It's not an argument. I'm just saying.
Well, no.
Looking from the outside, using just that checklist, he matches that. I don't think he matches that, but that's the problem with making big sweeping statements.
I would think
it catches a lot of people.
I think there is, and this is where it falls into a different category, because it's not the same. I see what you're saying for sure, but I don't think it's the same, because it's entirely reactionary to the first type of loser. So if in theory, like, a lot of the problems therein,
there's always reactionary.
No, I get that.
The victim reacts to being made into a victim.
I get that. So the problem is that when you have a chain of victimhood here, as it were, where does it end? You know, because if the first person is blaming everyone else for their particular problems, so like like he said, it's the person who, and usually it's the intersectional coalition, as it were, whatever it is in my life that makes me quote unquote special, individual, whatever tiny intersectionality makes me extremely individual. All of the people who have put me into that box are, if you're in the loser mentality, they're to blame. So it's okay. Yeah. So it's everybody who is
but it's also
homophobic.
catch-22, because
no, I understand.
You're saying, I'm saying, from what you just said, it's very circular, and
I'm saying it's a circular thing.
And catch-22, because you want to be special and different, but then you're saying you're a victim for being special.
Exactly.
And different.
So
that have it
you're right.
ways.
You're exactly right about that. And so there's a chain in that, because now that person, or group of people, I should say, because that's how these things gain momentum. Obviously, it turns into, well, I'm the victim because of this, and therefore I must victimize others because of this. Now, whether that's on a large scale or, a directly personal scale, it does become cyclical, like you were talking about, Ricky. It's like, it's the wheel problem. It's like whoever's on top is crushing the rest, right? And it's just, in some cases now, it's not even the people who have the most power, the most money, the most wealth. It comes down to who is yelling the loudest and getting the most attention is now on top, and doing the other things. And that could be anybody, and when it is the people who have legitimate problems, like we all agree there are people who have real problems with their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are people that have real issues in the world, and that's what kind of makes a lot of this annoying to me, is these are such stupid, petty little things that we spend so much time bitching about when there's legitimate things actually happening.
Exactly. So there's real problems out there, but we're focused on dealing with, for lack of a nicer word, whiny bitches, that we're not dealing with real problems. We're not dealing with other. And yes, to some people, mean words can be the most real problem in your life. But if that's the thing that is holding you back in life, like, I'm not going to get a job because of this, that, and the other, or this person is to blame for why my day is so shitty, or
But you're setting yourself up for failure.
You're setting yourself up for failure. So, and the more people you have to blame, the better you feel about it, but you never take responsibility for your own life, your own actions. And some people legitimately just have the problem, life doesn't work out, or whatever reason. Sometimes a situation sucks, and the only way out of it is through it, or radical change to get past it, as long as you're not taking out that radical change on others to get out of your own funk. Does that make sense?
That's right.
And even that might apply to Mike in his feelings too, where, like, if his life needs a radical change back to quote unquote normal, he shouldn't also be taking that out on other people he disagrees with. And I'm not saying he's blaming people, but also taking things out on that. And the more
misdirection of anger is not the same thing as blaming them for your problems. That's just taking that anger and
taking that anger out on. Well, I would say that, yeah.
Because remember, as you're pointing that finger, remember, there's 3 back that are pointing at you.
Fucking A.
Okay, Mom.
Yeah. So this is
true,
why I point with my whole hand.
That's why I point with only one finger.
I point all fingers and toes at my problems.
I point with one finger and I point it straight up in the air, so I'm not pointing at anybody, but that person knows exactly what I'm saying to them.
Yeah. And you're also declaring that your drill will be the one that pierces the heavens.
That's right.
That's right.
Gurren Lagann. See, look, if everyone
I got that reference.
Yes. If everyone would just follow the lessons of Gurren Lagann, this world would be a better place.
Precisely.
Turn the drill. Turn the drill.
Probably in his computer shouting preach right now while you're saying that.
Turn the fucking drill instead of blaming for other people for why your life isn't fucking moving forward.
Yeah.
Yep. One turn at a time.
Through high school. Growing up through high school, I was extremely bullied, right?
Same here.
Where there were times I didn't even want to go to school, and it came to a point where I really contemplated suicide, right? Like, seriously, you don't know about this about me, because I don't really speak about it. And I didn't know what the problem was. I wanted friends like everyone else. Just for some reason, I was the guy that was constantly picked on, constantly made fun of, blah, blah, blah. Now, I had 2 choices. I mean, obviously, I didn't commit suicide, but...
Are you sure this could be your hell?
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure I died years ago, and this is my hell.
The point is, I could have wallowed in my self-pity, right?
Yes.
Maybe ended up killing myself, or just maybe...
or others.
Victim for the rest of my life. Oh, nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. Blah, 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 blah.
Guess I'll go and eat a worm.
Yeah, or paste or whatever.
But, or you might turn into a school shooter.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not in Canada.
Please tell me y'all remember that song from when you were a kid.
I actually do. That's why I laughed.
But when I moved to another town, unfortunately, part of me was still in that
funk.
Mental... that
cycle of abuse.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then for some odd reason, just one day, it just clicked. It's like, wait a minute, I'm in a completely different town, completely different city now.
These people don't know me. They don't know the history.
Yeah. Nobody. I've left all of that behind. Right. Nobody knows me. I can be whoever I want to be. I snapped myself out of that victimhood and decided, you know what? No, I'm going to be a completely different person. I'm going to be outgoing instead of an introvert. I'm going to make friends. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
You're going to be where the people are.
Yeah. And this is what I'm talking about.
You should always go to a place where everybody knows your name, Mike.
the base decisions, right? You got to look at all of these choices that everybody makes, every thought, like a tree, right? You start out with either two choices, right? You can either be the victim or you can be the one that overcomes. And
those aren't the two choices. You could be in that case, the two choices would be victim or victimizer.
No, not necessarily.
No, because you can choose
because I didn't become a victimizer. Right? I didn't bully people, right?
Well,
I either chose to,
I think
either swallow in my self-pity or overcome it and become a better person.
Yeah.
I would argue now, just remember I love you, Mike. So it sounds worse than it's meant. But I would argue that you have become a victimizer by getting angry at what other people request of you, and your anger from your previous being a victim, you push it outwards towards them. Does that make sense? Like,
I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I would
it's
say
redirected. You're like, nobody's bullying me anymore. Like before you were bullied, now you feel like those people are trying to bully you into doing something you don't want to. So your response is to, from their perspective, bully them instead.
Well,
because from your point of view, you're protecting yourself from being bullied again. From their point of view, you're bullying them.
It's all about perspective.
I think that is actually pretty fair because, I mean, realistic. And here's the other thing: the modern version of the internet has turned everyone into fucking bullies.
Well, yeah.
Everyone's opinion is more important than everyone else's opinion, and you can do anything you want to people almost consequence-free. And then there's some people who take things way too far, like what happened with Dave Chappelle. But I think that is
or Facebook jail.
That too, yeah. So I think that is actually a potentially fair assessment that, because, I mean, like, while you are definitely going at things with logic and reason and science based on thousands of years of knowledge of the human race as it's evolved, to them you're just bullying and being an asshole who doesn't accept people for who they are, blah 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 blah, when you were literally exactly on that page in high school, being bullied for no apparent reason, to the point that you wanted to commit suicide, to the point that you guys moved to a whole nother town.
You were bullied because you weren't the same as those people that were bullying you.
So we're not saying you're doing it consciously, obviously, but it actually
really
is.
Want to know?
Yeah,
I was bullied because my mom was German, my dad was Austrian, and at the time, because sure it was like the 80s and it was,
I mean, that's Cold War.
Everybody was assumed to be a Nazi.
That's still Cold War.
Well, because
era,
when I was in grade 2, I had this kid ask me, Mike, when I was in grade 1, Mike, are you a Nazi? And I didn't even know about that word.
You are
especially
now.
in grade 1. To when I got home and asked my mom, what's a Nazi?
Because you hadn't learned about it yet. Yeah.
No, because I didn't learn about it.
It's grade 1.
Right?
I mean,
and that's what I'm saying.
Don't teach that shit
and my mom was shocked.
That's
everybody
what I'm
had this
saying.
mentality that in the town that I lived at, right? And it was a small town, that Germans must still be bad.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is they were picking on you because you were different. They were bullying you because you were different from them. You were German
because
they were
of
not,
stereotypes, mind you.
Yeah, but I mean, I was born in Ontario. I was Canadian as them, right?
Yeah, right. They don't care about that.
But from their point of view, you're not.
Stigmatism. I get the stigmatism and how it lasted. And yes, I can see how this can relate to today. I get that, right?
Yeah.
But
is there any
way? We all do look. Just okay, because I do realize that sometimes it sounds like we're just taking shots at Mike. So I'm going to pull it back and put it on myself. My mom, and I love her to death. She's my mother, and I will fuck somebody up that said anything said bad about my mother. That's a quick trigger for me. My kids and my mom, and I will go to jail. My mom was a very over controlling, authoritative figure when I was growing up. And so now, being psychoanalytical about myself, that's one of the reasons. That's why, like, when we're talking sometimes, and I'm still learning with the process of doing this with you guys, to sit back and listen more than just immediately just start running off over the top of everybody. And that's because when I grew up, I wasn't allowed to talk. My mom talked, you just listened.
Yep.
So now my response to that is, well, now none of you motherfuckers are my mom, so I'm talking as much as I fucking want to.
And you might end up actually shouting someone down because of the way you were suppressed.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's not even done on purpose. I've even apologized to you guys outside the show. And the other people that I've talked with too, is because I don't do it on purpose. It's taking a lot for me. Like when I get real quiet, you guys can see it. Sometimes I mute my mic is because I'm trying to let you guys say what you need to without me saying something. But until I get better control of myself, I just mute my mic.
Be heard, and now you want to be heard now.
So this is to put it on me instead of always making it feel, because I can see how from the outside it just sounds like, well, we're fucking with Mike. So I'm putting it on me. This is me owning my truth. This is the life I grew up in. And to this day at 42, I'm still working on that. You know, it's not just that I'm naturally loud. It's not that I am an alpha personality. I am like a funny kind of class clown, joke around kind of guy around people. I am that. But also it has to do with, we're saying things and I want to be heard, because when I was younger, I was not allowed to be heard.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's me doing the same thing. Is it's taking something from my past, which was my mother, and you two are now paying for the sins of what my mother did, for lack of a better term.
Right.
Just like all the weebs on the internet are paying for all those kids who bullied Mike. Well, okay, look,
that's what I'm saying. And it's not
be the example here.
Well, no, that's why I tried to take it. Yeah,
I was trying to take it to me, so you're not always the example.
Well, like,
and the only reason why I can use you as an example so easily is you are very strongly convicted in what you're saying. You don't have very much wiggle room. Like, there, at no point in time am I going to talk you off of your box that you're on. You might say, yeah, I get that, but so you're like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I'm still not stepping off of this box. So I'm still not stepping outside of this.
You have the power of your convictions, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's it. And so when somebody stands stationary, a stationary target is easier to hit than the moving target.
It is.
So when you're standing stationary, it's easier for me to rebut and refute what you're saying, because you're not any kind of movement at all. And so it sounds, if I was just somebody just listening to this, it just sounds like Ricky fucking hates Mike and disagrees with everything he says. That is not true.
No, and that's
I don't think you even disagree with
Ricky and Mike
much.
have not opposing views, just more parallel views.
Yeah.
Like we're both shooting in the same general direction, just from two different
vantage points.
Shooting nests. You know, we're at two different nests.
Yeah.
We're just shooting in the same general area.
We just have a different perspective on the same take.
Right. But that's what I'm saying, is that's on me from my past, and it's something that I have to work on, and I do constantly try to struggle with it and continue to work on it. Because if you go back and listen to our first few episodes and then listen to even just last week's episode, there's difference. There's long gaps where I didn't talk.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm trying to be better about it. You're making a point. The only time I interject, like right now, is when you get a big head of steam going, I'll stop you, because you'll blurb out like 30 different fucking things. And if I'm trying to have a conversation or rebut something you're saying, I want to rebut that one. But if I sat back quietly and waited until you finished, I would have to try to remember back through all 30 things that you said to which one I was trying to talk about.
Yeah.
So that's normally why I jump in now. And that's why I always say, you'll catch it. I'll say, hold on a second, I want to rebut what you just said.
Yeah.
Because then you can pick up and go to your next one. But I still fight the urge to just talk over. And that's a conviction thing. There's nothing wrong with you doing this, because you're in your comfort zone. You're talking about what you know.
Yeah. Because I'm also held by, how should I put it? I don't want to say, I do not want to say religious convictions, right? Because
moral
religion is such a, it's such a blanket term in a sense.
Well, that's why morals are less rigid than
to me, moral would be a more, and again, playing devil's advocate and being the guy who's more, I would say, gray than you two.
Yeah.
Saying it's a moral standpoint makes it even worse, because again, in a binary system, if you're moral, you're saying you're immoral.
Yeah.
So it's
still that's where religion comes in, anyways. When it comes to that,
see, because I grew up in a and I'm not going to hide it whatsoever. I grew up in a Christian household, right?
Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you? Be white.
I think all three
Christian?
of us grew up in a Judeo-Christian household.
It's
also,
and I mean, especially nowadays, and I'm going to say that, where essentially it seems like every other religion is okay, but it seems like Christianity is just the one to really shit on all the time, right? Because quote unquote Christians don't fight back or anything like that, right? Bull crap. Anyway,
I would argue that I've read about the Inquisitions.
well, no. I mean, there are some. Anyway, the point is
the Crusades.
I also have to.
That wasn't so much a fight back as a conquering thing. Either way, continue.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also have to hold true to those values that I believe in, because of a biblical outlook that I have on the world, right?
I think we touched on we touched on this before when we had the first talk about homosexuality and transgender. Is I talked about the same thing that I had my friend Ian that I talked about, and I told him, I was like, if you really want to know, I'll tell you, but you gotta let me finish before you get butthurt.
Yeah,
and it's just
I was raised would say they're evil. Yeah.
See, and the thing is,
Judeo-Christian household where it says it's wrong.
Yeah.
But that's where people in a Judeo-Christian household stop talking, because the other part of the Bible tells you that you still have to treat them nice, and it's not your place to tell them that they're wrong.
Yeah, to love others.
Whatever the way they want to live, that's fine. You can go ahead and do it. And just because I don't agree with it, don't try to sacrifice me in order to get me to believe what you want to, right? Because it's not going to happen, and I'm going to stay true to my values, just as they are going to stay true to their values. That's all. And it goes back again to last week, right? Just don't be an asshole.
Right.
And
simple as that.
And
that part I totally agree with.
And don't make me compromise my beliefs or what I believe in to suit your little comfort bubble.
But right? Here's where you have to move your circle.
Someone, that's fine. You can respect someone.
Somebody asking you to call them he or she opposite of their birth gender does not directly contradict anything in the Bible, nor does it directly affect the Judeo-Christian thought process.
If anything,
because they're not asking you to say, hey, every time you see me, tell me it's okay to be homosexual, or tell me it's okay to be lesbian. All they're saying is, I would like you to call me he or call me she based on what they're choosing. You, on the other hand, and this is me talking point blank with you because I've read the Bible multiple times myself. In fact, my people helped write it, so you're welcome. It tells you that you're supposed to treat people as you would want to be treated. You're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself. You're supposed to treat all people with kindness. You are not the person to judge whether what they're doing is wrong. That's God's place to judge. You can note that what they're doing is incorrect to your religious beliefs, but you treating them badly because of your religious beliefs is totally against the Bible. It says in there that you're not supposed to become a stone in the sandal of your brother. It tells you that in the Bible. It is not your job to trip them up. It is your job to help them get to where you believe your religious center is. And the only way you can do that is by treating somebody nicely. You attract more flies with honey than you do vinegar. If you're out there telling you all these LGBTQ plus people, you guys are all wrong, you're all sinners, you're going to burn in hell, everything you say and do is against my core beliefs, none of those people are ever going to change their mind about what your belief system is, because of how you're presenting it.
With a position of, finger pointing.
You're right and they're wrong.
Yeah. And you're not exactly. No, and I totally agree with you on that. You catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
I will say,
and that brings me back to the question I asked you.
You have to come you have to come forward with the, an air of love to it, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, I may not agree with what you're doing, but
you do.
Here's my viewpoint on why. and that's it. Instead of like to use the old phrase, like, a Bible thumper, right? Like whacking them over the head with a Bible or something like that, right? No, because a lot of people will not react in a positive way to something.
But here's
like
the thing.
that.
Hold on, let me go real quick, Ricky, because
But
I had a point I wanted to
we're
make.
totally segueing off of what we
No,
were originally
it doesn't
fine.
matter. But these are interesting conversations. This is the
this
world
is just-
that we
and it
live
is.
in.
This is just good potting. No, I did want to bring up something what Ricky was talking about there with the loving your brother or neighbor, whatever you want to put it. However, if I was to show love to what other, showing love doesn't mean you have to take direct action at all in one's life. Sometimes showing someone the most love, especially when you disagree with them on a fundamental level, is walking away in a peaceful manner. And this goes with all of us now. And I get it that a lot of people don't want to walk away from an argument, especially any of the three of us in this thing. We are going to be right regardless of what the fuck is going on. I'm right, you're wrong, and we're going to talk this out until you give the fuck up.
I'm only going to be right because I am right. You two have to argue over it.
So, but the thing is like, sometimes there isn't a right or a wrong. There's just a your way and my way. And my way will never cross paths with your way, so my path is going this way. I wish you well on yours. Now, and this is a problem I've had specifically with someone who's no longer a friend of mine, where we clearly fundamentally disagreed on something, and for me, I didn't care. I was like, I love this person for who they were and what they meant to me in my life and the relationship we had. That person chose to no longer love me for the same reason, that we're very different. Like, it's like, I'm too different, can't deal with this, get the fuck out. And it's just like, okay, hold on. It's like, but that, and maybe that's the best for them, and that's fine, but it's not the best for everyone, at least in my opinion. But there's nothing I can do about that. But as we were talking about it, it's like, okay, and with people on, let's say, the other side of this argument or discussion, I should say, it's not even an argument, it's all emotion, and it's all, even going back to say damage. Let's remember our damage conversation. Sometimes people, when they've suffered enough in one way or another, no amount of concession is ever going to be a thing they can do. And for them,
you can't undent a can.
You can't undent. Well, you could try, but you have to open it up. You have to get inside. You got to heat it up carefully. You got to push that in gently. And it's basically therapy. Let's be honest here. That is literally, I think I just defined therapy with a metaphor of a fucking can. So the thing is like, if you can, without meaning to, good job me, and Ricky. So the thing is like, look, we may never meet on this path proper, but you don't get to destroy my path because it's different from yours.
Right.
And it doesn't make you more right or more righteous to destroy me because you don't agree with me.
Right.
And because I disagree with you doesn't mean that I am fundamentally taking anything from your existence.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, especially now, and with the conversation we had before, that probably angered a lot of people, not just Will. You got to understand is like, we might not meet on that path, but I don't necessarily, and I'm going to speak for all of us here when I say this, we don't hate you because we disagree with you. Oh, see, no, Ricky does hate everyone who disagrees with him.
Yeah, there you
go. I just hate everyone, period. I don't care if you agree with me or disagree with me.
I agree
not
too.
My kids and my wife, I hate you.
Because I much like you guys both talked about, either being bullied or being silenced, I'm kind of somewhere in the middle of that. And the only way I managed to fight back against my bullies was not with physical force or being able to move. It was with being able to fight back with words.
Outsmart
them, talk shit.
Yeah.
And then in some cases,
and that's what I learned to do too.
Yeah. And in some cases, for instance, like some of the guys that were my bullies ended up being closer friends later, or at least really good acquaintances, if you're going to go that route. And then some people never gave up their bully nature. It's just part of them, to where it's just like, nope, I'm not letting this go because it worked this one time. It amused me. It amused others. I'm going to keep it going for fucking decades, even though nobody is the same otherwise. That same kind of person does exist out there. But it's like we talked about earlier. It's like you can either do nothing, wallow in your pity, do terrible things to yourself or others because you see that's the only way out, or you can have some of the mental and moral fortitude to move on and grow and find another way out. Like we said, it's like, that's not always going to be the same path necessarily. It's not going to be
true.
Sometimes you got to, for lack of a better term, bully your way out of it to become a better person. So the only way I got out from under it was not to beat the hell out of the people who were picking on me. Although there was one fight, but that was because he shoved me first. But everything else, I had to stand up for myself. And whether that meant standing up to them or standing up to the me in my own head that they turned me into.
Yeah.
I was that worthless person. I was that kid who was going to be easily bullied, or I am only valued at the level that they have shrunken me down to. So now it's like, it's not just standing up to them for the words they say every day, but to the words in my own head that echo.
It's a weird way in a weird way of looking at it, it's almost as if, and just kind of follow me on this, it's almost like in some cases, bullying can actually be beneficial.
I agree. That's how you lose weight. You bully fat people into losing weight.
In some cases, Ricky, not in all cases. Not in all cases. In some cases.
Standing up for your rights and your thoughts and your convictions does not equal bullying.
No. But I mean, what I'm saying is, if
he's got a good point, though.
Well, that's true.
No, I'm talking about you. I'm saying you've got a good point.
Depending on the case, depending on the person being bullied, right? Because again, it goes back to
every once in a while you got to punch the bully in the mouth. Sometimes the bully won't let you be. Like, you've tried all the other little tricks. No.
He's
still what I'm getting at. Right?
He's talking about bullying as motivation. Bullying as motivation
can either make or break that person. It'll actually, when you get down to like the final denominator of who you are as somebody that's being bullied, right? Are you gonna stand up and
okay, I got you. I got what you're saying.
Be a man. Yeah, exactly. And this is what I'm saying, right? That in some cases, bullying can be a good thing.
Hold on. You only make strong metal. You only make strong metal by beating it and bending it constantly.
Correct.
Fold it and fold it and fold it. The sharpest steel has been beaten and folded hundreds of thousands of times.
That's right.
Yes.
And like I said, I was constantly bullied through grade school, through high school. And if I didn't finally make that choice to just stop being the victim, then I wouldn't be the person that I am today, right? Yeah. Because all throughout our lives, look at it this way, all throughout our lives, we are different people along the way, right?
Now you're quoting Doctor Who.
We really have to take a look back at who we were.
Fucking Whovians.
He's
to kind of see who we want to be in the future.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna put it to you. Let me put it to you like this.
Yeah.
Those kids, when you were in school, picked on you because you were German. Therefore, they thought a certain way of you.
Well, I mean, that's one thing.
Brass tacks. You said boiling it down. That's brass tacks.
At least that was the beginning of it. Yeah.
Okay. So then I'm gonna put this to you for you to think intrally to yourself. Not change your convictions, change the way you're presenting it. Because to the person who asked you to call them by a different gender, you going, I'm not fucking calling you that because I know you're a boy or a girl based on how you talk, look, act, or because I know your birth gender, is the same exact thing. You're telling them that there's something wrong with them because it doesn't match with what you think they should be. So my challenge to you is stand with your convictions, stand with your beliefs. Don't change any of that. Maybe just change how you present it.
And that's that really what I was trying to get at last week.
Honey, but yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get around to that.
Right.
That's the unfortunate thing about the way that conversation went, is that it ended up turning into more, I don't want to say anger, but there was a lot of I think
it was
that
more about
it was a little heated.
It was heated for sure. So, and I love how we got here from Dave Chappelle. See how we've all grown.
But I like
Dave.
this because here's the thing, man. You can go. These people can go listen to a podcast about toys and shit like that. Yeah. There's not too many, and they can go listen to a podcast that's about political stuff, gender stuff, and all that stuff. There's not too many podcasts where it's a blend of the two, where we are a vocal minority being nerds and grown-ass adults.
Yeah.
But who also have opinions on very serious and important world-based stuff.
It's like we're the geeky kind of Joe Rogan-ish kind of show almost.
I wouldn't go that
I've never
far.
listened to Joe Rogan, so unless you're talking about news radio, I can't agree with
you.
You
never listen to Joe.
Joe Rogan.
Joe's great. Also listen to Jordan
I don't
Peterson.
have to, dude, I don't even listen to our podcast. Why do I go listen to somebody else's podcast? No.
Do you ever for instance, and Mike can attest to this, also being Canadian, a lot of this, if you follow Jordan Peterson,
yeah,
he talks a lot about these kind of things, about restructuring your mind, dealing with stuff, for lack of a better term, growing up and sucking it up, taking responsibility, sticking with your convictions and things like that. And that's not saying that anyone on the quote unquote other side is wrong and therefore they must be beaten into submission. It's literally about, maybe you got to analyze your life and see if people are treating you a certain way. And I'm talking about this to everyone here.
Yeah.
If someone is treating you a certain way, maybe it's time to look at what you're doing and saying, and to why people, because you can get angry and defensive and attacking when it comes to how other people are talking to you or treating you, whether that's on the internet or at the workplace or at church, which is really weird when that happens at church, but and it does take self-reflection, and that's something that a lot of people lack. A lot of people only go by what other people define them as, and then they just build off of that, but they never look inside to see who they are and who they want to be, rather than forming their self-image based on other people's opinions, instead of building their self-image on how they want to feel about themselves. And that is a big thing. It's one thing I noticed the other day. It said, don't let your people around you define who you are. Define the people around you by who you are.
Yep.
And that's a very different way to live life. And a lot of people just surround themselves by people. For instance, they want to be yes men. They want to just tell them exactly all the things they want to feel about themselves, or agree with them constantly and stuff like that.
The NPC mentality.
That too. Yes.
Yeah.
And in another way, you can look at it as like, maybe I need to, instead of letting myself be influenced by who's around me, maybe I need to build better people around me by who I am and how I can influence. Because you're going to build better relationships that way. You're probably going to build actual relationships, not just hollow, meaningless things that are on the surface that are just there to gratify you. A lot of people just want the self gratification or the instant gratification, and that's one problem with social media and things like that, where it is instant and it's usually self-reinforcing, and it's an echo chamber, especially when you get into things like TikTok, where you literally search for one thing and you watch a video or two, it will literally start feeding you more of that thing to reinforce it. And if you get into non-neutral things like kitty videos, like cat videos, sorry, like silly cat videos and stuff like that, where it's very neutral, when you start getting into the political realms, when you start getting into the transgender realm, when you start getting into that stuff, and it really starts just literally snowballing, because that's how TikTok works. That's how you start seeing a lot of people who start bending to the things that they're shown and seen and force-fed. I watched a whole video on this not long ago, and how it's a little really culty and creepy how it's functioning, and it's one reason I'm never going to get on TikTok. A lot of people do, and they do manage to stay neutral with it, but I'm not going anywhere near it. Not only do they have endless and limitless data collection, especially on your face and stuff like that, Just the fact that its algorithms function that way, and they're literally can be down to the minute on algorithmic analyzation and feeding of things. So if you change from one type of video to another, it will within minutes start altering your feed because you changed something. So not only can it snowball, it also can be, it literally is following you that quick, and it's kind of scary. But that is kind of the world we live in now. And when it turns into people who have lived their feelings on the internet, when you challenge their worldview in any way, shape, or form, and because a lot of them have lived in a big echo chamber of like-minded people who are all literally living within that same snowball, they're all living within that same echo chamber. When one person says something, like when Mike said what he said last week, and it could easily turn into, okay, well, one person got offended, but they put up a video, now you have 185 people offended under the same guise, and then it just snowballs out of control from there. When now we've taken the time to really slowly go back over that conversation and talk it through and make more sense of what we said. We didn't mean to go there, but it's where we went. But in a much slower manner, where we have this long form podcast, it's not a 30-second thing where, you get the instant clickbait, you get the instant rage bait, something like that, and then you're fed more of that, and then more of that, and then more of that, to where it just whips people into some type of fury, and even Mike himself can even be driven to that, we're all victim to it in the same way. It's like and it's one reason why I'm really, it's like, I like social media for the way to be able to connect with people, especially you guys, because we're nowhere near each other, and there's still odds we may never meet in person. I have better odds of meeting Ricky than Mike, but
better than you think if you went and looked out in your bushes right now.
Shit. But we don't have bushes, surprisingly. It's like, I just thought about it. We actually don't have bushes here.
You actually were like, holy shit, I should check my bushes.
No, because we had bushes at the old apartment, but we only have trees here. We don't have shrubberies.
Sounds like some crazy shit. Look out there, there's just like one rando bush slowly walking across the parking lot.
No, it's just a box sneaking through the shadows.
With Scooby-Doo feet just creeping across. Yeah, just side up, pointing down at the ground.
No, but I was gonna say, nobody hired Roger, so we have no shrubs. Name the movie in the comments. Nobody say it. Name the movie in the comments that I just quoted. Either way, I think we've been
win a free T-shirt.
Shit, we're not giving away T-shirts.
Mike's paying for it now. He volunteered.
There you go. Mike will pay for your free T-shirt.
Oh God,
go send Mike.
Somebody's got to pay for it. Shoki got to make his $2 while me and Mike don't make shit.
I gotta make the $2 to afford to make the $2.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats.